Blessed be everyone. Today we're talking self-worth and shadow work. It was a request for me to do a video about the belief that I am not worthy was actually the request. So I'm going to talk about that and shadow work and how that relates to the spiritual path. But before I do, hi, I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn Wicca or witchcraft, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. So I had a request to do a video about I am not worthy. And I am not worthy is a belief. It's a belief that many of us have. And it's a belief that is particularly strong in the spiritual community. Because whether we were brought up pagan or not, and I think for most of us still, we haven't been brought up pagan, there's a lot of very strong spiritual beliefs still out there that tell us that we're not worthy, we're not good enough, and we don't even really have the right to exist. And when we're not getting that from some of the spiritual beliefs, we're getting it from the cultural beliefs. So when we grow up as children, we either learn from our environment, and our environment is the people around us, so that's our parents, our schooling, and our culture. We either learn that we're worthy, or we learn that we're not worthy. And for most of us, we learn that we're not worthy, because that's where we've been historically. We've been in that mindset historically. And it's not a very nice place to be, because when you grow up believing deep down in your subconscious mind, you may not even be consciously aware of it, that you're not worthy, then you will find that life isn't as fun as it can be, that life can be very challenging. You can find you have depression, anxiety. You may have a lot of anger issues. You may feel a lot of resentment. You may feel a lot of very unpleasant, negative emotions. You may get very triggered very easily by other people. You may find yourself being very vulnerable to what other people say to you. You may find yourself very easily manipulated by other people because you will feel guilt or shame about not doing whatever it is that they may be asking you to do. And you'll fall more victim to people who do that deliberately. Your energy vampires, for example, people who do want to shame you and guilt you, to manipulate you into doing things for them. You will find that you're not valuing yourself or your gifts. If you work in the healing and helping professions, you may undercharge, or you may find yourself giving freebies a lot because you feel guilt, or you get kind of railroaded by somebody who doesn't respect your value or your worth into doing things either for free or for a very discounted price. Self-worth can really affect you. It can affect you financially big time, and it can affect you in your relationships. So you may feel that you're not worthy of really good relationship deep down underneath. So you'll find you keep attracting partners that actually reinforce that belief. You may find that even friendships with people are with people who may be more inclined to be also low in self-worth, or they may be friends that you find can use you and manipulate you as well. So it's not a very good place to be. And the world is full of this lack of self-worth. It's getting more and more and more. This is actually happening more. I'm seeing it in the mainstream that people are actually finding themselves less worthy. It's kind of what I'm seeing with what's coming out in the world today. So it's very prevalent in the world. The advantages to feeling your worth and feeling your value as a human being, equal to all human beings, is that you're more empowered. And when you feel more empowered, you're less susceptible to what goes on around you in the external world. You have more resilience. You have more resistance. It's almost like you've got a suit of armor without it actually being a suit of armor. You're not as offended by what people will say. People can totally disagree with you. They can disagree with your ideology. They can even disagree with your religious beliefs. They can disagree with your very being. And you don't actually feel triggered by it. You don't take offense to it. It's like it's water off a duck's back. And it's not that you're just letting people railroad you or not standing up for yourself or defending yourself. It's just that these people don't have that emotional effect on you. And when you're not being emotionally affected by other people, then you are much stronger. because it's the emotional impact that we feel when we don't feel that we're worthy that is what hurts us and harms us and leads us vulnerable to giving our power away to other people. And on the magical path, we don't want to be giving our power away to other people. So that's why on the magical path, it's really important to develop that self-love, that self-nurturance, that self-acceptance, and that self-value, so that you can stand strongly on your own 2 feet and you don't find yourself getting caught up in the worldly craziness that goes on. You'll take your safe space with you wherever you go, because you won't actually need one, because you'll be that resilient to what's going on around you. So that's the advantages of having self-worth and where the lack of self-worth actually comes from, which is our upbringing. But what do you actually do about self-worth? People ask a lot for spells and magical remedies for these sorts of situations. And honestly, because this is something that is embedded in our subconscious mind from the time that we're children, it's not something that a spell can fix. You can do spells for self-confidence and for more courage if you're doing that for a particular event, because magic can help elevate those things temporarily, but not for very long. It's something that may only last a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 or 4 days at the most. But it's not something that's going to stick around if you're doing magic for it, because it's something that is embedded in the subconscious. And the only way to work with it is to speak to the subconscious on its terms and use the healing modalities, particularly the energy psychology modalities, to help you change your thinking and your beliefs. So this is where the inner work comes in. This is where the shadow work of self-reflection and looking underneath the bonnet, underneath the hood, looking underneath what you can see consciously about yourself and exploring the shadow part of ourselves. And the shadow part really is just the part that's hidden. It's hidden in the shadows, we can't see it, so we're going in to shine a light on it and to see what's there so that we can work with it and change it. And that's something that I've done a lot of work on myself, and I work one-to-one with people to help them do. I also incorporate shadow work into my Wiccan training in the Mystery Witch School 101 course as well, because it is so important for our connection to who we are. Without exploring our inner selves and working with this whole reason why we don't feel worthy and then changing that so that we do start feeling worthy and valuable, without that, it's very difficult for us to really connect to spirit. Because from a spirit point of view, there is no self-worth or lacking of self-worth. From a spiritual perspective, everything simply is, and everything is as worthy as anything else. So it's not a case of comparison, and it's not a case of does something deserve something or something not deserve something. As far from a spiritual point of view, it's all the same. So connecting to ourselves and exploring ourselves and changing those beliefs about ourselves so that we can really understand who and what we are is how we connect to spirit. It's through doing the inner work and connecting with ourselves, and that connects us with then everything else. And when we've worked with our own lack of self-worth, when we've worked with changing that within ourselves, the whole world around us changes. We're no longer taking offense to things that people might say. We're no longer being triggered by people's comments about anything really to do with us. We can pretty much laugh it off because we can see where they're coming from. We can see that they're coming from a place of low self-worth. We've been there, we know what it's like. It doesn't affect us so much anymore. It's very liberating and very, very empowering. So the way to get there to start with is to explore your beliefs about yourself. If you're feeling unworthy, and it does manifest as a feeling, understand that feelings aren't fact. Just because you feel a sense of not being worthy and you feel it in your nervous system and you feel it in your body, that is just your guidance system telling you that something isn't right. And it's, in this case, it's your beliefs and your thinking that's not right. It's not the outside world. It's actually what's going on in here that the emotions are telling you about or warning you about. Understand that if you don't feel worthy and you actually really feel it and it feels real, it really does feel real, it's not a fact. It's actually a fallacy. It's false. It's a false belief. It's not real. It's not reality. The reality is you are worthy, and you always have been and always will be worthy as a human being. Now, there may be some things that you may want to achieve in life that you haven't got there yet. That doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It just means that you haven't achieved what you need to achieve to get there yet. That's a very different thing. But when it comes to your self-worth, it is false to believe that you're not. So, really important thing to understand that just because something feels real, just because a belief or an emotion feels real in the body, it doesn't mean it is actually real. It is just your guidance system telling you something's not right. And that's where you take it from. You step back, just observe the feeling in your body, observe how it feels in the body to feel not worthy, and just observe it. Because the more you observe your feelings, the more you step aside and observe your feelings, the more you'll realize that you are not your feelings. That there's a part of you that isn't that feeling. And that part of you is part of who you really are, your real conscious nature. So when you can step aside from the feeling of not feeling worthy and just observe the feeling, how does it feel in your body? What does it feel like? Where's the tension in the body? Do you feel it in certain areas, in the stomach area? Do you feel it in the heart area? Do you feel it in the throat area? Do your shoulders tense up? Where do you feel it? And then just observe it. It's just a feeling. It's not going to hurt you to observe it. Might be a little uncomfortable. But the more you observe it and the longer you observe it, the less you'll feel it. The actual feeling starts to settle down when you observe it. And the more you do that, the more you'll realize that you are not your feelings. Your feelings are a guidance system. They're not real, as in they don't exist from their own side. They are just a guidance system. And you can step aside and watch them and observe them at any time, which means that the real you is not what you're feeling emotionally. The real you is something very different. So try that exercise when you are feeling that sense of not feeling worthy. If somebody does say something to you or tries to guilt you into something, or if you're triggered by something and you want to fight back, and just take a step back and go, hang on, what is really going on here? Learn about yourself, know thyself, very important aspect of the craft, and it's something that I teach in Mystery Witch School 101 course because it is so important. So if you are interested in learning Wicca and witchcraft from a beginner's point of view, and you're also wanting to work more on that connection with yourself, take a look at the 12-month course Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. It is there for beginners. It takes you through the traditional sort of more eclectic style of Wicca, but I also add more deeper things for you to practice and explore, so that you're not just getting knowledge about how to build a circle or how to do magic or how to do the Sabbats, how to work with the lunar energies and the deities. You're also learning how to work with yourself as well. The link to that is in the description field below this video. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. Blessed be.